tear them apart. Trail through the dark with a flashlight heart. Bronx on the story, keeping pace on the track. Every minute, every motive, never holding it back. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, no spin. Bringing you the facts so raw, let the evidence speak again. Exposing all the secrets, looking for the lies in the cracks. They throw revelations at your feet till the gavel comes down on the facts. Week after week, you know the sea's still warm. Cold case heat brewing up in the storm. From the Bronx to the booth, they connect every clue. When the hammer hits the wood, you know the verdict is you. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, no spin. Bringing you the facts so raw, let the evidence speak again. Exposing all the secrets, looking for the lies in the cracks. They drop the gavel one last time, and the truth keeps pulling you back. Yeah. Welcome to the verdict room.
All right. Let's try this again. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight at the Verdict Room, episode number 2. We have Logan from Bronx Tales True Crime, Miss Kim from Typically Unique, and Mikey from The Last 24.
Hola.
How are you guys tonight?
Excellent. How are you?
Frustrated, but doing well because I'm having technical issues.
Huh.
But it is what it is again. Twice.
That's
a
okay.
week.
You have a great guest today.
Yes. I'm sorry, you guys.
Sorry, I didn't mean to talk at the same time.
No, it's okay.
You're fine, yeah.
And yes, folks, we don't have an intro, like a perfect intro video and all that stuff. We're still working on that. We will get it together. Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for joining us. Please make sure to hit the like button wherever you are and share this out and let everybody know what we're doing over here tonight. We have an awesome show put together tonight for you. We are being joined by the awesome Miss Audrey from Glitch DNA. Super, super smart lady that she is. Oh, I'm super excited. I have so many questions, like I said, for her. And I think we all do, like I said. So let's try not to overload her, folks, because so much to talk about. So at that point, guys, I'm going to go ahead and bring her up. And I think we're all set. Is everybody running okay now?
Si, senor.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
looks good.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. All right, here we go. Welcome, Miss Audrey. How are you tonight?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Hello, everybody. Hi, chat.
Hello.
Absolutely. Sorry about that, by the way, that delay.
Hey, long time no see.
Long time.
Cheers.
Welcome. Like I said, this is our second episode. It's so wonderful to have you here. It's an honor. Very appreciative you could work us into your schedule. And like I said, I'm sure there's so many questions everybody has. And I want to tell you, I really do appreciate you being in the community, bringing your resources to the community with the cases we cover. It's been so nice to be able to watch the stuff you have put out content-wise and realize that some of the stuff that we have questions about, there's answers for it now. So that's awesome. And we appreciate you so much for that.
It's so beneficial to have somebody who's very intelligent and has, so much knowledge that they can apply to this case too, because we don't have much of that in this case. So we appreciate you so much.
Yes.
Other than your videos, how many times have you been on a live of somebody else's panel?
Oh, not even a dozen times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what brought you to YouTube, Audrey, to get into what you do?
So it was when I first heard DNA from mainstream media in the Koberger case, I felt compelled to come on and to just have everybody slow down, be cautious about what trace DNA is, maybe explain a little bit about what it is, because I think a lot of people get it confused with a big blood stain. That's the gold standard. Everybody says, oh, your DNA was found at a crime scene, so you probably did it. But trace DNA is not that gold standard. It is not that blood stain. And I just felt, well, maybe if I can help give the knowledge or just an article of something that I have that might help a future juror feel more confident when they get that letter and they have to go in that jury room, then they'll have some information or they'll remember an article I shared and they will feel a little bit more confident, supported, whatever they needed.
That is amazing. That is awesome. And that's what you do. That is truly what you've done for us, at least. And for me, I could speak for myself. I don't know about everybody else, but
Yeah.
there, like, as soon as I first saw your first
Clueless.
video, it answered many questions that I had, so on and so forth. Also, how did you get into, like, what exactly, if you don't mind explaining what you do, what your background is and stuff like that, so everybody understands.
Well, I work in medical billing. My college major is health systems management. So I've always been in kind of the healthcare world. And I started reading about DNA when I was in college, and I found this invisible DNA that still has my attention. And I've been reading about it for the past 20 years. I've been keeping up on it. And I'm also interested because I studied the system and healthcare. So I wanted to learn about how this trace DNA functions and processes through our systems. And also there was a college professor that said, you read an article once a week or as much as you can to stay current in your profession. And so I just kept reading as much as I can. My Saturday mornings are, a cup of coffee, and instead of the paper, I'm reading scholarly journals about trace DNA.
Sucks you in.
That is absolutely awesome. I love it. And I'm glad that you do, because we now have you here because of that. So that's awesome. Kim, Bronx, any thoughts, questions?
I just had a comment. I love that you said one of your reasons for starting was the jury knowledge approach, because that affects everybody, if you're called to do that. So I love that.
Thanks. Yeah.
Great point.
Mm-hmm.
So
knowledge is power.
Amen to that one. What case brought you into YouTube, Audrey?
Koberger.
Brian Koberger, of course. Yeah, a lot of people showed up for that. Did you follow any cases? Did you have any interest in any cases before the Idaho 4?
Yes, Delpi and Lori Vallow.
Okay, very big cases, very interesting cases, both of them. I didn't in my channel itself, the cafe, we didn't really follow too much Lori Vallow other than the basics of it, but Delphi we are very deep into, still am kind of very unhappy. What are your, I guess if I can ask, what are your thoughts on the Delphi situation at this point?
I think this is another situation where somebody got into our system that probably should not be in our system.
Yeah, it sucks that he kind of entered himself into it, just trying to be a nice guy.
Yeah.
A nice, honest person.
Very sad outcome for that, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. It's hard to watch.
I still can't get past how they what they used on him, what they used against him. No, there was no DNA, anything like that. It was just it's just ridiculous. So
the whole bullet thing is mind blowing.
Yes, beyond mind.
Yeah, his treatment and confessions.
He didn't even go to a jail. He went to a prison, huh? Before he was convicted.
Yeah, he was sent directly to, I think it was Westville, right?
Yeah.
When he was brought on board. So yeah, absolutely.
For safety.
I'm sorry, that's ridiculous.
That's probably not following the process, right? That's the other thing I love about Audrey is she's about processes and procedures, and I love that. I've always been about that too. So I love that approach you do.
Thank you, and I think that's what. Isn't he filing an appeal now? And that will be, I think the angle they'll be coming from is the system and the process itself.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, absolutely. I'm excited for that, by the way, you guys. I don't know about the rest of you with the Delphi situation. I have a really good, how I'm always talking about my gut feelings on things, so on and so forth. Like this, with this Delphi thing, I have a really good feeling this is going to get flipped upside down. So I'm kind of excited about that.
I agree.
Oh, sorry, Meg. I'm sorry. I know I had everything backwards in the background, but thank you so much, Meg, for that. Number one,
Hi,
towards
Meg.
our goal. There you go.
Love Meg. Shout out to
Yes.
Meg.
We love our Megatron. She's awesome. Absolutely. Welcome to all of the moderators. Thank you so much for being here from all of these amazing channels. All of the moderators here, we could not do without you. We would not exist without you. We love all of you. So thank you for joining us tonight. So let's get this kicked off, you guys. So let me ask this question right out of the gate, Audrey, if you don't mind. Like with the Idaho 4 case, what was the biggest thing? I mean, I know what we're going to get into the side of things that you deal with, but what was the biggest thing on this case that caught your attention that made you, do a 360, stop, back up, and go back toward again?
Well, it's definitely the DNA first, because I knew by the way they were describing it and what they weren't saying what type of DNA it was. And I knew in the beginning it was trace DNA, and I knew that that does not necessarily place anybody at a crime scene. And so that was one of the things that I really wanted people to slow down and just be cautious of. And another one was when I was first reading the PCA, and I read Dylan's statement about frozen shock phase. And I thought, that's a little strange. That's healthcare language, but it's not quite. And so I thought this right here could be a deceptive statement.
Absolutely. I think I remember, Mike, I don't know, you were here when we first got this case, when that first dropped. When she said I was in a frozen shock phase, I think I said that. She never said that. That didn't come out of her mouth. I believed immediately that was a law enforcement statement.
We didn't ever hear it. As everything has rolled out, there's a lot of things that were originally said, like, where the hell was the bushy eyebrows?
Nothing has been repeated since,
in these interviews. I mean,
it took a very long time for us to find out that she never said that, though. That was a narrative for a very long time.
3 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes,
which would lead to a lot of people giving that sympathy. You're in that situation and, oh my gosh, you're frozen in shock. And that just painted that whole picture. And then the documents and everything come out.
Yeah. Well, I'll say one thing. It's good in some ways because we proved all ourselves correct. When we saw what we saw as they started rolling out, we're like, okay, we weren't crazy. We knew, because I started to feel like maybe I am crazy. You know what I mean? But it's been proven. So thank you so much, Luther. You're such an angel. Again, so very much appreciated. God bless. Wonderful to have you in here, and happy Saturday night to you as well. It's great to have you here, dear.
As we all know, they've kind of thrown that case together, and it makes me wonder that did they ever think that like people would really go this far? And that's why there's
I'd have never imagined it would have went this far.
It's a continued cover up.
Yeah. And what are your feelings on that as well? If you don't mind me asking, Audrey, you feel as though this is a cover up situation, or how do you see it from your angle at this point?
Well, I think, especially in the DNA world, for about 20 years, I think there has been another side to that courtroom. I know that the juries, they usually, I think there are studies out there that they defer to the state experts. But there's another side of the room where these independent experts come in, and they're not necessarily for the defendant. They're independently telling you what they see in these documents. And I think that it's amazing that there are people out here that are finally kind of getting interested in the system and how it works and what all the intricacies of expert opinions and, the order and the flow of the courtroom, whether that's on cross or it's just a hearing, or, how they're preparing and scheduling for court. And I think that it's very exciting.
Absolutely. Great answer. Anybody have anything to add with that to her?
Unfortunately, bad things have to happen sometimes to create awareness. And it's, like she was touching on, I think a lot of people that didn't know got a lot of awareness out of what's going on, and they still continue to, and they still are going to continue to.
Good point.
Most of my questions are going to be about the the other samples that
Oh yeah, we're
in this
heading there.
case. I know you're gonna get there.
Definitely
You just
heading there.
brought up the independent experts. Like, did you like they're not obviously agreeing on everything with that, are they?
I think that they essentially are, but I think they're coming at it from their particular expertise. And that is something that is truly amazing when they are looking at the data through their lenses, and then they're coming together and they are seeing a picture of what happened here, and they are seeing a little bit of the structure of how the system goes and the order. And I do think that especially Dr. Turvey and Matthew Nodell, I think they both have come to the conclusion that this is most likely a secondary transfer, and it does not necessarily place Brian Kohberger at the scene. I think that Leah Larkin has also seen that through her IgG work. And Bicca Barlow, I think she has seen that because she referenced the NIST report that I did a live 5-part series on, the DNA interpretation, human factors through a systems approach. And I'm so surprised to see that she's referencing scientific material in court motions. That was so exciting to see.
Awesome.
Absolutely awesome. Yeah, thank you, Kim. I was going to say the same thing. Wow. Bronx, anything before we jump forward you want to add or ask?
Sorry, I have more specific questions. So I'm interested in, I would say when they explain single source DNA, can you kind of go into that as far as like the other types of DNA and how it's different in this case and so on?
Okay. All right. I'll give you as much as I know about that. I don't necessarily work in the lab, but I do know enough to know the system or the process or the pipeline it would ride on from the scene, throughout the lab and then the courtroom. So from what my understanding, single source is when there could be just one contributor. So you have single source versus a mixture, which would be several contributors or several. They can see several different people's DNA in one. However, single source can be tricky because each lab, and this is what we call the DNA slot machine, they set their thresholds and they could be different. And that's exactly what happened under Maddie's fingernails. And that was what, item 13.1, where the state had initially, with their threshold, said Brian Kohberger was inconclusive, and they used STR mix. But then the defense used their software to read the DNA called TruAllele, and their thresholds said that Brian Kohberger was excluded. So depending on where that threshold is, there could actually be additional contributors that are very low signal underneath their line. And so single source, and this is one of the things that I'm interested in seeing, which they have not released. We can't even see the match. The table is all blacked out in the ISP report. So they've never even shown a match to Brian Kohberger. And so I'm interested to see where their threshold was, and if there is actually a low-lying mixture in that sample of Q1.1.
Very good point. Interesting. That's same here. I agree. I would love to see that as well. No problem. Okay, moving on. So, okay, let's ask this real quick about Kim. So, your thoughts about how, because this was new to a lot of us, I believe, the transfer DNA. What are your thoughts on how this was achieved? I guess we could say, for lack of better terms. How do you feel about how they went ahead and did this, the way it was passed around to a couple different labs, then it was sent off to Othram, so on and so forth. Othram did their thing with it, and here we sit now with a man in prison that I believe personally shouldn't be there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Was that to me or Kim?
I know that was for you. I'm sorry. That was for you. I'm so sorry.
I
So
thought you were
sorry.
asking Kim. I'm
Could
sorry.
you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Yes,
So one more time, my apologies to Audrey. My apologies again. I should have said that. As far as the transfer touch DNA, whatever we're gonna call this, trace DNA, whatever. This is new to a lot of us. When it first came out, we were all kind of like, "What is this?" Blah blah blah, so on and so forth. So what are your thoughts, Audrey, on the way they achieved getting that, how they dealt with it, what they did with Brian, all this other stuff in the labs, bounced around through multiple labs, so on and so forth. What do you think on that?
Well, I think the problems with it started at the scene, and one of the things was they withheld the coroner, and there's also two forensic timelines because in the ISP notes, it says the detectives moved everything, and then when the actual forensic team got there, they said they documented it as found, and in some cases they tried to move things back in its approximate location. And when you have a case that's anchored on trace DNA or DNA that could easily transfer, you're creating a whole ecosystem of additional possible transfer events when you have two different forensic timelines. In addition to that, you have Detective Payne or Corporal Payne, and he renumbered a lot of these DNA samples, and he did it to the point where a state expert had to correct her testimony on the record. And there are also blood profiles. As we all know, there's unknown blood DNA, but there's also other blood DNA profiles that were never even tested, like item 31.2. And in my opinion, if you can't get an accurate read on what the activity level was for the blood in the house, how can you elevate a trace DNA sample if you're not even sure what activities happened and you're not reading the full blood story? And so I think that elevating this trace DNA is misattributing a probative profile. And I think they missed an opportunity to actually find where the real probative profiles are.
And,
Wow. Go ahead, Mike.
and what you know, what they didn't test, and then what they lost. That's interesting. You know,
Oh, definite. Like, let me touch on that real quick
because
since you
of their
brought that up.
fire or whatever. You
I have
know,
a question too.
Yeah,
Whatever
so
happened.
with the whole refrigerator thing, okay, where they said somebody left the door open in the refrigerator and all these specimens got ruined. That they didn't even need refrigerated. Is that true?
Now,
The-
I am not certain on a lot of these lab protocols. I know enough of the lab protocols that might be related to a standard or a policy. And I am not exactly sure what needs to be refrigerated and what doesn't. So that I don't know.
So when I looked that up, because I spent a little time looking into that, I thought it seemed strange. It does say, and the internet's not always right, so I did have questions on that as well. It did say that dry samples specifically don't need to be refrigerated. Do you have any input on that? Just like as
Unfortunately, I
just
don't
a
know all of
layperson.
Well, that makes sense to me. If the dry can stay dry and wet needs to stay wet and chilled, I don't know though.
That is a good question, though.
Yeah,
it is. That's
great
a really good question. Good,
Because even as it's dry, like it's going to get darker as time goes on. As air gets to it, you would think that it's going to get exposed to something, even though it would be in a contained environment. I don't know what I'm talking about, Audrey.
I just thought it was I thought it was a stupid excuse for somebody not having something to. That's all I thought it was. But
Yeah.
Well, you bring up a great point, Mikey, because blood can dry and it gets flaky and it crumbles away. So yeah, it would that makes sense that would have to be in a controlled environment. So yeah, good point, Mikey.
that's kind of my thought on it too, and it understood completely. They just had a lot of mishaps. There was a fire. There was things lost. There was the refrigerator left open. There was just too many things that happened, and I don't believe in coincidences in this case. I just don't anymore because there's too many of them that for it
You
to
can't.
make sense. Yeah, right. So,
For sure.
go ahead with your question, Kim, and I'm going to jump into these different profiles if we
Okay.
can.
So you were speaking on the samples that were not tested that could possibly be more probative, right? Like possibly give better insight or point to somebody. What about the items that were tested that point to like other unknown males, or they were tested, but a lot of their results will say like, it's not exactly inconclusive, but like the scientific words for like not good enough, like not enough there, or however they worded it. When I hear that, when I'm reading those reports and seeing that, I keep thinking, but you only had the skin cells from the sheath that you developed you went through a whole process with. What's your opinion on that?
So I probably am going to reference the NIST report, the DNA interpretation, human factors through a systems approach a lot. I think they started that in 2020, and it took them 4 years to put that together. And basically what that was like, that's 20 years worth of reading, 20 years worth of standards from NIST, which is the National Institute of Standards and Technology. And what they go into that is there are human errors, there is human judgment, there is autonomy. And a lot of what we're seeing in the Kohberger case is somebody's decision, not necessarily science. So when they're deprioritizing certain samples, that was a decision, that wasn't necessarily science.
And this was their deal sealer in staple, and they ran with it, and it worked for now.
Right.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Wow.
So all those decisions you're saying, like the decisions to like not probe a specific thing further, or not to take a certain sample through another process, the process again, or like all the decisions that humans made are involved in that.
That is correct. And in other countries like the Netherlands and Norway and Germany, they do test every DNA profile they find, and they do keep it on file. Where in America, we don't do that. They make these human decisions and they go one direction, and the rest gets kind of put on the back burner, or there are DNA profiles that were probably there that no one even knows about. So we're not seeing the entire scene. We're not seeing this entire case.
I know you kind of touched on that when we talked about you coming on this show, and you'd mentioned the other countries, and I didn't, I skipped over it, but that's something how they do it different.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Definitely. Anything to add, Logan?
America.
Yeah. So, another question I have is, the surface that DNA is found on matters a lot, right? Like how it stays there, how it, might degrade differently, how long it lasts on there. So when it was switched from the snap to the strap, can you explain the difference of the surface and how that would actually matter a lot?
Great question, Logan. Thank you.
That is fantastic. There's a whole school of study on this, and they call it TPPR. That's transfer, persistence, prevalence, and recovery. Transfer is the transfer route, secondary, primary, direct transfer. Persistence is how long does it actually stay on that surface. Prevalence is how likely is DNA to be here in the first place? And then recovery is, when the lab recovers the samples. And in each one of these, the TPPR, there are risks, and there are risks for contamination. There are risks in problems in the process, and there are risks for just plain old human error. So from what I'm understanding, if it was on the metal button, that metals don't really like DNA, and there are these nanoparticles that's kind of like your antibacterial that we all put on our hands, because that kind of metal, that the nickel, and I think was it zinc or brass too, it works as a natural antibacterial, and it does kill the DNA. So it is a natural DNA killer. It is a natural, germ killer. But however, when you have a porous surface like the leather strap, DNA does stick to that a lot better. And I do think that when they did actually swab that strap is kind of flappy. And I think that that strap lives right next to, if the knife were in that sheath, they have that, the guard to the knife so your hand doesn't slip. There's a lot of users that call that the K-bar bend, and that is a lint trap. And what that does is that pulls your environment onto that area because it kind of sticks out. So not only is that flappy strap kind of like a lint zone because it's flapping all over the place, and dust sometimes it's, you know, debris that happens to have human DNA in it, and nobody really knows how it travels, and it can travel, you know, without any footprints or without the person ever being, you know, at the crime scene. So this is like a double lint trap kind of area. And so you're going to have a lot of the prevalence part. Like, yeah, this is an area that probably will, because it's kind of rare to have an object or a surface that doesn't have DNA on it. So it's not surprising that, hey, there was DNA on this flappy strap. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that's a great answer too. I do have another question along those lines, kind of. So we were told that Brian Koberger basically purchased this knife and knife sheath 8 months previous to the crime when he was still living in Pennsylvania. So he would have had to somehow transport this knife and knife sheath, not only from his home, but then into his car across the country. Would you expect to see more DNA on it, no matter how he had it, like secured in whatever he maybe wrapped it in or put it in an envelope or whatever to try and keep his DNA off of it? Would you still expect to see more because he seemed to have transported it from several different places where his DNA would be very prevalent?
Absolutely. He's introducing it into our live, messy environment. We all live in a live environment. It's kind of like a big animal pen. We don't know how our DNA kind of shuffles off, but it carries in the air, it transfers. Life is in motion. We're in motion. So the DNA is always in motion. So I would expect some of the live environment to be transferred onto there. So yeah, I think you have a great point there.
Awesome sauce.
You know what I find real interesting in the 2 points that you just touched on? One, DNA basically getting funky when it's on certain metals, which was the button, which was brass, and then you touched on the flappy part. So it's just interesting that it's not on any other part to me than difficult parts, let's say, of that.
That's
Meaning like parts that you normally wouldn't be able to pull it from?
Well, like she said, whatever DNA does different as it sits on different metals. And then the flappy part, like I spaced out on that explanation, but it's two difficult parts of a knife sheath that's how long? That it's only right there. 14 minutes.
Yeah, right. Conveniently.
400 stab wounds. You know the rest. Whatever. That ain't 400 ain't accurate, but whatever.
It's over 100 at least.
You get where I'm going.
I do have another question, actually, along with the location of this DNA found. So I heard one interview from the CEO middleman guy, and then I saw an article of a director from Othram speaking on this as well. And they both said that the sample came from the snap. So I know they didn't get the actual sheath, but would you expect them to know where the sample actually came from? Does that matter to them, do you think, when testing the DNA?
I am not sure on that. I do know that I don't know. I just think that sometimes their marketing gets a little dicey because they're talking about activity level when they should only be talking about source level, which is, you know, identification, not exactly what happened at the scene. I don't know. I disagree with anybody who says, oh yeah, the trace DNA can tell us exactly what happened. Like, well, it's not as descriptive as a blood stain could be because you have that whole school of science behind it, the spatter. And so you can get some movement depending on what kind of spatter is there. You don't necessarily have that much information when you have a speck of invisible DNA. It doesn't really give more information than other than it being present. So it gets a little dicey, I think, when labs like that start talking about activity level versus what their lab actually does, which is identification. And identification doesn't necessarily mean that probative or somebody did commit a crime.
Throws it right into the
excellent answer.
confusion market.
Yes.
My question goes right along with that, because it really bothers me that all we heard was snap, snap, snap for all that time. So I'm assuming that came from a lab somewhere. So would that back up from Othram back to, who was it? ISP, the ISP lab that actually had the sheath? And then, yes, it would
Yeah,
be that.
Well,
I believe.
Okay.
in the biology notes, it says that was the strap that was swabbed. So that would be where they collected the DNA. It did not say it swabbed the metal or the button. It was just the strap. And I actually think it was a miscommunication between the fingerprint department and the DNA department, because the way that they have these departments in these labs, that was created before I think trace DNA was actually discovered. And so I do think there could be some miscommunications there of who's going to swab what. So I think that it was reserved for fingerprints, and I do not think that the metal was actually swabbed. I think it was just the strap.
So then, like, I guess I wanted to talk about, or it goes back to the prosecutors, like they were using that language, and I'm just pointing out like all the issues in that case and why we question it, because you can read the documents and like look at the sheath and how they outlined it and where they swabbed, and the lab person seemed to point out exactly what they did. So like when you're talking about processes and procedures and that communication piece, like
48 hours, Kim.
Where
48 hours.
where did that,
Yeah, we just heard that.
How
What,
did it go
yesterday?
from-
48 hours.
Yeah.
why are they standing in court saying snap, snap, snap? I guess is just,
Well, and that's what I
Blows
was
my
going to
mind.
go to next. Like we were told for 3 years that his little touch DNA was inside that area right there. That was
Exactly.
it. And then we get these documents dropped, and then it goes from that to the strap, guys. This little strap here. Now, 3 years we're told one thing, and then all of a sudden,
Mhm.
now it's not there. What are
Yes.
your thoughts, Audrey, as to why that changed possibly? If you have any, of course. If not, no worries. But
Well, that's the human factor side of DNA. I don't think that many people understand this whole new study that the scientific community is going towards. They're going towards the human factor element where there can be errors introduced. And that doesn't limit just the people in the lab, just the lab reports. That includes the prosecutor when they misspeak or they speak in such a way right up to misspeaking. Yeah.
that's a problem. That's a huge problem in a case like this. Like especially on the prosecution side, I understand that human error is human error. Perfect. I get it. But in something in this aspect that's that touchy, you got to kind of be on point. I would think, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah, and I think that this is really important for juries to know that, yes, there is another side of the room. There is also the scientific community, and the prosecutors, they're not going to necessarily give you that information. The courts, they're not going to give you that information. They are a little behind the rest of the world when it comes to actually understanding and using this trace DNA and the human factors in that goes into this. So I also think it's very important, if there are any questions you have about the chain of custody or why they picked this particular DNA profile, you don't have to put any weight on it, because that's when your caution, your red flag should come up. Did they actually get this right? Are there human factors involved here? Because science can be right, but the human factors part may not be. So accurate science is more than just the science being accurate. It's also, is your pipeline, are you able to produce accurate results, in your clinic, your facility, your lab, from start to finish? Are you able to do that? And then if there is this gap between the communication of what happened in the lab and what the prosecutor is saying, you can also think about that in ways where okay, I want to be more cautious about this DNA profile because that doesn't really sound right. And I know we're not used to doing that. We're used to listening to the prosecutor and the prosecutor's experts. But from what I've been learning about global DNA and the DNA standards and this new approach to introduce human factors and human errors into the science, there's a whole nother room that is going to talk about that for us. And so I think that listening to these independent DNA experts and putting some weight on maybe what they say and not considering DNA the gold standard anymore, because what we're finding is these human factors, they could actually, it could be an allele call, like a couple of them, maybe one or two may not matter, but it could be that. It could be another mistake or the way a prosecutor words something, but that could be the difference between a conviction and a non-conviction.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me ask this question I forgot about earlier on. I was going to ask, but we know that it went to, I believe, 2 local labs before it went to Othram and before they came to the where they're at with it now. Why do you think, I should say, in your opinion, they weren't not able to pull anything from this in the other labs until it got to Othram? Do you have any thoughts on that at all?
I'm not sure. Do you know what labs they sent it to?
My understanding was that it went through like I heard, and I'm probably wrong on part of this, Moscow, so they had their own stuff, and then ISP's lab, so on and so forth, and then off it went to Othram at that point. Even if it was just one, if it just went through ISPs, I think maybe that's what I screwed up with. I think it went through ISP and it was processed twice, and they didn't get anything off of it through their lab, and then they sent it off to Othram. I mean, it just seems like if Othram could pull something, why couldn't ISP pull something off of it?
Yeah.
Well, they had some quality control errors in the testing where they had standards fail. They had to do requants. They had the ILS, which I think is the ruler to measure peak heights, that failed, and they had to re-inject it multiple times. So they were troubleshooting this sample even before Ortham got. They were the first time they tried to read the sample, they couldn't read it. Their software said this doesn't pass quality control. So they were having trouble reading it. Yeah.
What's the reason for that, in your opinion?
I was damaged. It's trace DNA. It's just their system, their quality control system saying this isn't up to standard. And so they troubleshooted, they got around it, and then they were able to read something.
So it's like minimal enough to start with, and then you start handling it, do whatever you did with it, and then it's gotcha.
But it blows my mind that they could do that with that sample, but then they couldn't do it with the blood sample, or chose not to. Is that what you're saying? They chose not to?
They chose not to, and this is a big part of our judicial system, and I don't think the public knows that these are human decisions. It's not based in science.
That's the problem. That's a big problem then. Why, like, okay, so if you were to approach the situation, you were the one that was to make this choice on this, would you have made that choice? Obviously not, in my opinion, based on what you just said, correct?
Right. I would have, well, according to NIST, you should do the blood first. The blood is more probative. It has more weight.
Bingo. Right. So that leads us to, that's a good segue to, we have these other samples that were found on the sheath. Let's talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind, Audrey. The other samples that were on the sheath that were not tested, and we have some other samples as well. I have to separate them again. I was going to ask this earlier, but I forgot. So unknown male C, is that the one that came from Decor's house, or was that on the I always get these confused because it's been a minute. Let's go with the 2 that were on the okay, I think it was. So let's go with the 2 that were on the sheath that were untested. What are your thoughts on how that went down, why, and what you think of that?
I think, again, that was a human choice, and that I know they said that there was not enough data to read the minor contributors in 1.2 and 1.3. However, I don't know the lab's because each lab has different standards. So I don't know if that's just a blanket statement,
Sure.
or could you have actually read those, or is that just something they read? Because these, as I learned the hard way, these lab reports are unforgiving. They are extremely disorganized. I'm sure that the lab knows what they mean when they write it down, and anybody who's reading these reports. But I work in healthcare. I work out of Epic. So everything has its identifier, its label. Everything is clear. You can line things up. And when, I'm reading these reports, nothing from MPD to ISP to the ISP lab to any of the motion, none of it lines up. Like, for example, nobody really could identify where the sheath was found. From law enforcement to the prosecutor, everybody had a different place of where it was actually found. Whether was it by Maddie's leg, was it tucked up under the comforter, was it
Yeah. And then
under her
the
shoulder?
pictures come out.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean that was one of the big things. When we were going through the photographs, I think all of us up here have gone through these and said, "Wait a minute." They said it was first off, it was on the wrong side. It was tucked under her right side. It said in the reports, and it was under her and a comforter. We get this photograph. I can't remember the number of it, but it pops up, and there it is, teetering on the side of the bed, open to the world, underneath like her shoulder or somewhere like that. I mean, like that's completely off. So seeing the positioning of it and like the spatter that was around there, I would have guessed there would have been a lot more blood on that than there was. The minuscule pathetic amount there was seemed very odd to me as well. But going forward with the sheet thing, so on and so forth, any other thoughts on that with you guys at all?
Negative, Captain.
Gotcha. So I was going to ask another question I lost.
Can I ask? So I started this chart myself. Now I haven't gone back to it in a long time. And this was before the unredacted parts came out. So 1.2, I believe, is the edge of the sheath handle and edges where the of sheath on the handle. 3-person mixture. One is male. They consumed it. So they consumed 1.2 and 1.3. Does that sound right to you?
yes.
Okay. So there's nothing further that can be done with those, correct?
For the physical sample, I believe that is correct. Yeah.
Okay. So then 1.4 is the one that is on the back of the sheath, and they still have extracts remaining. And then 1.5 is inside the sheath, blade side. That's a 2-person mixture. Okay, so this is the one where they say low level results, no conclusions can be made.
Whether that's true or not.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Audrey. Sorry.
That was a funny sound. All I said was whether that's true or not. I don't know, because a lot of times they just put these blanket statements and you're not really sure, and we don't know where their thresholds are. So we won't know if it was actually in another country. That wouldn't happen. They would keep all of that information on file.
So frustrating.
Surprise.
I know a lot of people have a lot of issues with the fact that it seems like the original sample ended up doubling in size. Can you speak to any of that at all?
That was going to be my next
normal?
question,
Is it-
Logan.
Yeah, what does that
Okay.
mean?
I don't know for sure. I don't know if Ann Taylor meant the actual physical sample or the actual file. But if I had to guess, and this is just a guess, I would think they would do something called bootstrapping, where they build up the profile because it was partial or damaged, that they didn't have a full profile. So from what I understand it, what bootstrapping is like a printer, but the printer, it skips a lot of information on the first part, and then you keep printing on top of it until it kind of like builds something. And they also do the PCR, which, what is it? It doubles everything, it magnifies everything. And so I really think that was because they had to build the profile. And I know they make it seem like it was this robust single source, but from everything they had to do with it and the process and how it's about, it says the opposite.
They really worked it to get to where they
What
got.
it sounds like.
Well, then the Middlemans came out. I can't remember her name, but she made a statement and said, we had so much more than you guys think we did of Brian's DNA. What? Like, where does that even come from? We were told that it was a like smaller than the tip of a pin amount of a skin cell. That's what we were told. Now all of a sudden she has so much more DNA. Where does that come from?
I think it's perspective. I think their lab, they're used to working with extremely damaged DNA. And so maybe for them, it was a lot. But from the active criminal side, not necessarily cold case side, I do think there needs to be different rules for cold cases versus active cases. But I think in this particular case, that was a matter of perspective because they are used to working on very minute types of DNA samples.
Gotcha.
When they have a sample that's small and they're, like you said, printing on top of printing to build it up, basically, is there any way for it to change the outcome of it had it been a larger sample to begin with?
Yeah, we'll never get back what the pieces that are missing. And a lot of these things are run by software. So if these samples are so small, they need to be propped up by software and it calculates different probabilities of it could have been this, it could have been that. And then I think that now this is just what I think. I'm not 100% sure, but they'll run several different probabilities at one time from the software. And they probably would just pick the one that's closest to the suspect, whether or not they had several different probabilities of what this DNA actually is after they build it up. So sometimes, in some cases, when they do build these profiles, it might not actually be an actual accurate representation of whatever surface they found it on.
Very interesting.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Real quick, I just want out of curiosity, I want your opinion. I'm sure you watched some of the hearings, so on and so forth, of the statement that, we're going back a little bit, but we'll come back to this part here. When Brett Payne stated about when he was questioned about not putting it in CODIS because he was afraid it would knock the other stuff out of there. What was your reaction to that when they made that statement?
That is another one of those statements where that is a decision that is not anything based on science. I don't even know if that's part of their policy, but that was very deceptive when he said that because they can pretty much put whatever they want into CODIS. I know they have some restrictions, but not that restricted that you can't put any of the blood DNA profiles that you found at the scene into CODIS. I do not think it works like that. That was a decision that was made, not science.
That's exactly what I thought too. I just was curious what you thought when I laughed, but then I go and look it up and I was like, okay, that was convenient,
I looked it up and I didn't think it was true. Like you can put in, they'll let you put in, I forget the exact number, 2 to 4, up to 4, up to 8. There was a number, like a limit but it also depends how many victims there are. So like that's with one victim. When you have a quadruple homicide, they're more flexible depending on the crime. And then if it doesn't have any results, then they'll let you resubmit. And that whole part about it kicking it out, I found nothing about that. That's
no, from everything I read, that was just a little bit of BS. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I have a question from the chat. Jeff wants to know, does Audrey believe IgG is a legit science or can it be manipulated to steer evidence toward a particular person of interest?
That's a good question. And I have been following independent DNA experts on LinkedIn, and some of them do say they think it's complete BS. But in my opinion, I think it can be difficult, but it can be accurate. However, it depends on your originating sample. Now, and also if it is trace DNA, a lot of times, even DNA analysts, they even say they will never know what time it got there or how it got there, whether that's primary or secondary or what time. So we have high tech and we have science that can read live environment, non-crime time DNA potentially, because we do not have a system to be able to identify activity level when it comes to these trace DNAs. So the issue with IgG is you're going to go through this whole scientific process and you will be able to identify someone because we have the technology to do it. But is your originating sample, is that live crime time DNA, or is that just live non-crime time, live environment DNA that is naturally occurring in our environment? Because it is not surprising that DNA is found on objects and surfaces. And so I do believe that naturally occurring DNA is more abundant than actual crime time DNA. I know we hear crimes are committed every minute of the day or whatever, but I do think there's more naturally occurring DNA in the environment. So what law enforcement and our judicial system has gotten used to doing is they're just used to pulling any old DNA sample out of our live environment, and they may or may not be building a case around live environment, non-crime time DNA. That has happened, and it probably will happen some more because it is abundant and naturally occurring in our environment.
Interesting. Good question too, Jeff.
Those are points I haven't heard brought up a lot, so that's
Right.
great information. Thank you.
Yeah, very much so. I'm over here note taking like a
Me
a
too.
sixth grader. Somebody has asked that more than once in here. I don't know how it relates in that aspect. I don't know exactly. Hey, Jen, what they wanted to know, but we'll get to that, answer it, and then jump back to where we're at with this. Somebody said something about closed adoptions for IgG. Do you have any thoughts on anything like that?
I'm not sure exactly what that is.
I don't really know either. I'm sorry for who asked. I'm not. Like,
I'm wondering if they're thinking, because I saw that question too a bunch of times. I'm wondering if they're thinking like when they were building the tree and they're going through, like they have the DNA profile and then they're
okay.
now they're building the tree. And if somebody in that tree was like, maybe they're not in there identified because I don't know. That's what I'm thinking.
That's the only thing it would make sense. Yeah.
Interesting. Very
real
interesting.
quick, congratulations, Scully Skull. Good to have you in here, brother. I know you've been here more than a month, but happy day anniversary to you, brother. We love you, and thank you so much for being part of our community.
Gang.
I have another question. I'm sorry. Judge
please.
Hippler was, in my mind, infamously saying DNA is DNA every day of the week and twice on Sundays. I've never wanted to smack somebody more in my life.
I agree.
What do you think about that statement?
I think it was prejudicial. I think since it was a public hearing and there are people watching now on YouTube, there was a judge basically saying your DNA is probably at a crime scene. And I know he was saying that about probable cause, but there really should have been restraint with that comment because America is behind the rest of the world when it comes to trace DNA. And it just because somebody's DNA is at a crime scene doesn't necessarily mean they committed the crime. It no longer works like that. I don't believe DNA is any longer the gold standard. I think blood stains are much different than trace DNA. I think trace DNA, I think we still have a problematic process in how we do things, that there are a lot of errors and things that can happen along the way during the process, maybe not necessarily the science, but even if we have the science doing it correctly, are we getting correct results? Are we getting that true crime time DNA? These are the questions that I have. So I am very skeptical of it, and I want to be cautious about this, and I don't want to attribute trace DNA as a gold standard like a blood stain. I think these are completely different things.
I think for the people that are watching that aren't knowledgeable on DNA, hear something like that and they think that it's 100% that was Brian Koberger's DNA. It was at the scene, meaning it put him there at the time of the crime, and that's so further from the truth.
Right.
Yep. Sign, seal, deliver.
Fully agree with that one, Logan. Yes.
They got the guy.
So, moving forward to, I wanted to get into, I keep getting lost because I'm not looking at the document right now, but is it male B, male A, and okay, what do we have? What were the ones that were on the sheet? Let's go to those two. I forget completely because I'm not looking at the documents.
It was 1.1 through 1.5
Mm-hmm.
that we know of.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, Michelle. Real quick, I'm so sorry, guys, for that membership. And it looks like New Mexico 444 received it. Welcome to the sauce. And I appreciate that very much, Michelle. So 1.1 through 1.5. Okay, now can you explain that so that everybody can understand exactly how that works out, how that's broke down, and things like that? Are you able to do that, Audrey?
I might be able to roughly do it, but this is just from my understanding, and
Sure,
this
please.
could be wrong. But I think item 1 is the sheath. And all of the different profiles they found on the sheath, they gave it a point and then a number. So 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and 1.4. And these are also areas of where they swabbed as well. So I guess there are different areas on the item number 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the most accurate, I think.
Gotcha. And I know I'm only asking because I know there's people that don't quite understand exactly how that works. Now, B, C, and D are the ones that were unknown to the world. Okay, that I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. And I think, like I said, one of them was found in Jack DeCour's apartment. The others were on the sheet. Like, did anybody have any questions up here about any of those or any of that stuff that way at all?
I was tracing that. I'm pretty sure it was C. And reading through the documents. So they found blood samples they gave I think it was the address. So that's how I identified it, that it was Jack's house. And I kept looking. They compared it and said that it matched unknown male C. So we found this blood over here in a different location, and it matched an item back in the house. But then when I kept going back to look at that item, like I could never see in their documentation and I found this twice. So this is one example of me trying to read through everything. And it seems like they send you in a loop where they never the other example I have of that is the person who wrote the report. She would put see report or report coming. And then when those unredacted reports came out and I looked, and then in that, it was like, that's where the information was supposed to be. And in that it said, see the document. And so they just keep sending you back and forth. Have you seen that?
It's a mess. I work in healthcare, and that would never be acceptable. I don't know if this is one of those things that is cultural. I think maybe people in the lab, their own lab, know what they mean, and maybe that's all they need. But for me, I think that their documentation system definitely needs to be more organized, because of exactly what you're talking about, Kim. I ran into that as well.
Okay. And then back to that unknown C, what do you know about that? The actual sample?
That one was a tough one for me because, like you, I thought it was related to something in the house as well as in the other house and that actual person. But it was so hard to follow where in the story does C fit. Yeah.
My suspicion is it's with that either 30, item 30, or one of those.
Yeah.
I don't remember, but yeah.
And it's hidden. I think the way that some of these, since they're very sloppy at their data and their documentation, they are able to hide things like that. And I think this is one of I think if we ever find out, which we probably won't, that male C might actually be more interesting than anyone ever thought it could be. But and it's a lot of these things where it's like, what is not said? What are these things missing? What's in the background? What are in these blind spaces? And that was kind of how I figured out, yes, this is trace DNA, by what they weren't saying. It was like this big empty spot that I'm like, that I could see the outline of, yeah, that's definitely trace. So I think male C is another one of those blind spots where I think it actually might be more significant than they're trying to make it seem in their data.
Very good point. I agree with that too.
But I don't know for sure though.
Yeah. It's hard to know because they don't show us everything.
No, well, yeah, and then the things they do show us, we don't know whether to believe in it or not because
Yeah.
there's been so
Right.
much of that.
Even down to like the boxes that had the swabs on them with the dates that were all jacked up.
That was bad. That's definitely something I would imagine shouldn't be being done in the time period that they were doing that in like that. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Which sample was unknown female DNA?
Oh,
Which was it? What'd you say, Logan?
Was there a sample that, like a sample number that was unknown female DNA at the scene?
I don't remember that.
No.
There was
I don't-
unknown female something.
There was a female something, and I'm trying to remember what it was, and now I can't.
Damn it.
I need to find that out. I don't think
Yeah.
I've heard
I
that
don't
one.
remember that either. Let me write that down to double
I
check.
could be wrong then. Cause
I don't think you're
there's
crazy.
only-
There's unknown female something.
Was it
Yeah, I
because
just-
they were trying to say it was like maybe one of the roommates, but they couldn't like tell for sure, or I don't
Could
know.
have been something like that. I just remember hearing unknown female, and it was a while ago, so I don't really remember.
You know what? Now that you're saying that, I think I do remember hearing something about a female trace being on something somewhere.
Yeah.
Michelle said there's one that was mixed on the stairs.
Oh, maybe that's it.
Oh,
Was it on the railing or no?
That's what I almost want to think. I
For
don't know.
some
That,
Where's
that
the
could
call?
be. That could
Connecting
be.
in my
Or the
brain, I
half
don't know
wall.
why.
It's been a minute since we talked about this, so yeah. Okay, Susie said yes, one female.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was on the wall.
so
me-
Audrey,
Go ahead.
oh,
Go ahead.
sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Based on what you just said about like the whole process with the unknowns and all of that, as you were describing that, I'm like, why wouldn't the defense have wanted to go to court and tear this to shreds? Like, it seems like there's a lot there. If me, who knows absolutely nothing, can read through this and see that there's issues, I would think that they would be able to get experts and fight through that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they have some limitations. I do think some of it is strategy, probably a lot of it. But I also think there is a ritualistic part of this where the defense, because of certain rules, I don't know what they would be, but they might be only able to argue certain things depending on the scope and how the state presents these. Because if you don't test the entire scene, or you don't consider the entire scene part of the crime scene, it's kind of difficult for the defense to ask these things. So I do think there's a little bit of strategy on both sides there on how to conceal certain things so the defense can't ask. But I do think that this particular defense, they were probably saving a lot of things for strategy because, like you said, they weren't really addressing a lot of the things that were happening where they probably should have stood up and tore some of these things to shreds, but we didn't see much of that.
That's a freaking interesting statement right there.
I think they got blocked. They tried. Like, didn't the judge rule that they were not going to be allowed to talk about those other DNA samples because then that hits at the other
Yes.
alternative perpetrator and they weren't allowed to talk about that, and it just seemed like they got blocked every step of the way.
Hence
Right.
the plea deal, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah.
When we're talking about Ethan's DNA, could it be confused with Hunter's DNA, being that they're twins?
Well, see, that was something that was brought up once before. That's a great question too, Logan.
Yeah.
My understanding is that being that they were triplets, that like I have a set of twins too, but the DNA, I believe that there's like 1 point or 2 points or something like that that makes it different. Do you know anything about that stuff, Audrey?
I'm not as well versed in that, but I do know that not all siblings share the same amount of DNA. It could be similar, but they may have been able to tell the difference between their DNAs because they're fraternal, I believe, so they would have had
Yeah.
different DNA.
Like mine are
Okay.
identical, and that's what I think I was told, was it because if they're not identical, then there's going to be differences. But identical twins, it's the exact same thing. Every bit of
Yeah.
it's exact. Okay, I just wanted to see if that was right or wrong.
I
Those are
didn't
great
know if they
questions.
were
From my
fraternal or
understanding.
not.
Very interesting question.
Great question. That was really good.
Yeah, that was awesome, Logan. I'm looking in the chat for different questions and stuff as we go.
Yeah, I've been checking too. Oh, I did have one that was curious about. It was like, let me go back to it. Phenotype testing. Is that something that Othram should have done? I know nothing about this, but this is just a question that I had from someone in chat.
I'm not very well versed in this, but I think that's like what you look like. Isn't that like your hair color, your eye color? And I think Ortham would do something with that. Ortham more so than the ISP lab.
Okay, yeah, because don't they have professionals who can come in and, well, no, the lab can generate those traits, those characteristics of the person, and then someone will sketch it out or they'll generate it through a computer or something?
I think they can do that. I'm not sure though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wild stuff. Really,
Right.
really, really interesting.
That makes me think about some Nancy Guthrie stuff. What Kim
Yeah.
just said.
Yeah,
Are
I was.
you surprised that they didn't test more of the actual blood that was in the rooms? Like, we have a lot of gravity droplets that are directly next to the edge of the door in the bedroom. And to me, that would say it could be a victim's coming off of a weapon, but it could also be a hurt perpetrator as well. Are you surprised they didn't test more of that? Or do you think that was purposeful? They didn't test that?
I am frustrated that they didn't test more of the blood DNA in this case. I think that would have changed the trajectory of the investigation, and I don't think they wanted to do that.
From what you've read about other countries and how they handle crime scenes, what are some of those other blood samples in this case that maybe they would have, like another country would have tested?
All the ones they could find.
Wow, really?
Yes.
Wow. That says it. That says everything in itself, in my opinion. That's crazy. Good question, Kim.
Wow.
Drive Up Grid had just asked if you had to explain the difference in IgG data sets versus actual string data. Do you have any knowledge in what they're asking here?
No, I'm sorry, I don't know that.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Like I said, not all questions are going to be easy questions per se, or even pertain to actual aspects in that point sometimes. So yeah, that's a good point. If 4 people are killed, why wouldn't you test everything just in case that maybe keep the samples? I don't know. Maybe I'm no, I agree with that, because there were some blood samples found in Xana's room that if I remember correctly, when the bed was moved, that they never touched. Now, see, being that law enforcement had moved everything, like you had said in the beginning, Audrey, they moved everything out of place. They shouldn't have touched any of this stuff. And your comment, by the way, I never said anything at first, but is one of my biggest issues in this case, that they never brought the coroner in when she was there. She was there at 12:30 in the afternoon. She said, I'm here whenever you're ready for me. I'm here. And they kept her, staged on the other side of the road over there till like 9 o'clock that night, which makes no sense to me. None.
And I'd like to know y'all's thoughts on that, each one of you, why they would do that. Are they trying to not set a timestamp for something? Or I don't know.
I think they were doing it so that they could get Bill Thompson in there first, because he went in at 5:30 before she could even touch that scene. That should have never happened like that, in my opinion.
And you getting Thompson in there too.
Say again, Mike.
Getting Bill Thompson in there for what reason?
That's my question. Why did he have to be there that day and go in
Yeah.
before the prosecutor had to go in, or before the coroner had to go in? And what the hell were they doing all day? You know, I know this is a little off the subject with you, Audrey. It's just these things bother the hell out of me, and I can't get them out of my head. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'm sure it gets under her
Oh
skin.
yeah.
Any thoughts on those things specifically? For you, Audrey?
On which thoughts?
Not the delay with the coroner allowing the prosecutor to go in,
Oh.
and any of that stuff.
Oh yes, I did a whole live on this because I do believe that the medical professionals were not treated as adults in this case. I do believe that is a cultural thing, and pre 2025, in March of 2025, the coroner system had implemented new laws and policies. So the Idaho evidence pipeline or coroner system pre 2025 was very ambiguous, and the roles weren't exactly clear. So you have a quadruple homicide where the authority on the scene is kind of questionable. Like, who's in charge here? What role is this person? What role is that person? And it looked a little chaotic, but that was how the system was set up then. And so, yes, I do believe that because these roles were unclear, that also could have changed the direction of the investigation. And I do believe that these foundational elements of where documentation needs to happen, where the coroner needs to get in there, she needs to do her physical examinations, she needs to examine the scene, she is a medical professional, and none of that was done. They need a true first responder, a true medical documentation, and none of that was completed. And it's cultural, and it was pre-2025. There's new laws and regulations that they have now, which is not perfect, but it's a start.
Yeah, that being a first responder, that just drove me nuts. It still drives me nuts that they did not that any of that happened that way. It bothers the hell out of me. Still,
I mean, 911 didn't even attempt to say, "Hey, maybe we should start CPR."
Yeah. No, they went automatically for a defibrillator, which blew my mind away. Right, like just blew me away right there. But it is what it is.
Does anybody have a defibrillator? Yeah, hold on. There's one in the closet downstairs. We party real hard, and we got one. It's charged up, ready to rip. Tater chip.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
I got you.
Do you know? And
Hold on, pumpkin.
We all know protocol. You know? Do you know?
Hunter,
CPR?
go get the defibrillator.
It's ridiculous. This whole thing is just weird. So, let me see. Does anybody up here have any more questions in regards to anything along with the Idaho situation?
I love that you are identifying the like big umbrella issues through this case with these specific processes, but then how it's like you're saying cultural, like it is our culture, and it's not only like that system. There's many other, like you could look at the education system, you can look at law enforcement, you can there's issues. And when you were talking about how other countries handle the DNA testing, I'm wondering, like, what system do they have set up? Is it government controlled? So it's just like an automatic thing, whereas in our country tends to be more private business, for profit, cautious of spending. Because, if our local police departments, they have a budget and they have to pick and choose what to spend money on. And have you found that those things affect?
I love this question. I have written a lot about this. A lot of the first world countries, they have independent forensic science. And I am a advocate of that, to get forensic science out of the police department so it can be in its proper spot, which is an industry between law enforcement and healthcare, because it's not quite healthcare and it's not quite law enforcement. It needs its own rightful place. So in some of these, like I think in Norway, Netherlands, there's a whole bunch of them that they have removed forensic science from the walls of the police department. And some of them are government funded through universities. That I think the Norway system, I think, is a very good stepping stone for America if we want to go that way, because it is set up very similar to how we fund our police departments. It's through universities. It's through the Department of Justice with oversight, more oversight than it has now. They still have a seat at the table, but it's still, the authority is more public. It's more independent. And so the way that it's funded is also just as important of which walls it's inside.
Yeah.
Great
Oh,
point.
yeah.
Very good answer. Yes.
So interesting. Wow.
Very much so. Logan, did you have anything else question wise or any statements to add to this that go along with the Idaho 4 situation?
I don't think for the Idaho 4, I think I asked pretty much everything I wanted to know for today.
Gotcha. Now, I just quick question. Have you followed anything going on with the Nancy Guthrie situation, Audrey, at all?
I have followed a little bit of the DNA, not necessarily all the whodunits.
Well, that's actually the kind of
Jeepers, Audrey.
question. Yeah. Right.
How dare you?
Why would
How
you follow
physical.
DNA stuff? That doesn't make any sense. Now, come on.
What are you doing with your time?
Right. And that's kind of what I
playing.
wanted to get into. First and foremost, with for those of you that aren't familiar, which I'm sure most of you are, I think all of us here have followed. I know I have, Kim has, I'm pretty sure that Bronx has for sure covered the Nancy Guthrie situation. How they're talking about IGG, which blew me away immediately. Like, here we go. You know, they
Here goes the scramble.
Yeah, and they threw Othram's name into this too in one of the videos or interviews I was watching. I'm like, oh God, here we come. So how in a missing person situation like this, okay, how are they going to use this IgG and the DNA and so on and so forth? If you could explain that with Nancy Guthrie's situation.
I'm concerned about it because they said, what did they find? Like 24 pairs of gloves. One of them was 2 miles away. How do we know that's actually related to crime time? And this is a great example of what I mean about, we have high tech, we have scientific processes that can read live environment DNA, but how does the system differentiate non-crime time live environment DNA from crime time DNA when non-crime time live environment DNA is abundant? It's not surprising that it's on surfaces and objects. So when you find an object that's 2 miles away, there's no way for any analyst to know what time that DNA got there and if it is actually related. But our science and technology can identify someone. But how does the system can't identify intent with the DNA profile?
The only thing I can think of is maybe Nancy's DNA was also on the glove, and so they connected, you know, they're trying to say that it was crime time, but they haven't said that either. So I'm kind of waiting on that to know if we can trust this or not.
Right.
We do need more information. That's a great point. I'm nervous about the whole thing, the whole process of how they're presenting it.
Well, yeah, because this could have a bad turnout if I'm correct. If they do this the wrong way, that's correct? You know.
Yeah. And all we know right now is that there was blood found in her house. We don't know on what. We don't know. So like when you're talking about the environmental DNA versus crime time DNA, we don't get to know that stuff to have that checks and balances, you know, as the public until after when the documents get released. You know, that's when we get to go through it after they do everything that they want to do.
And
good point.
This doesn't really touch on DNA in this, but I heard, I think it was a couple of days ago. It seemed pretty legit, but they said that when they put the tent up on the front porch, that they were back there to try to figure out how tall this guy was. Like, what? Why would you even report on? Why would you report on that? That they didn't haul the light in there for that. It's like, it's just bullshit.
See, I thought that's what I thought it was that they were scanning it with the ultraviolet light or whatever that is that they were doing after they sprayed that. That would make sense. Not testing the height.
Like what the fuck?
Wow. Okay.
I think the testing the height would have been something that would have been great for them to do in the Idaho 4 case.
And also in the Delphi case, in my opinion, for Bridge Guy. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Well,
100%. And SRB said, yeah, that's their story.
Payne was jealous. He didn't want anything to do with the height.
No. That's
They-
still don't. If he can't reach the countertop, he's not there.
Papa.
So what? Like, let's talk about real quick what some of the negative outcome could be that could happen if they use this and they go about it the wrong way with this, Audrey. What do you think negatively could happen with Nancy Guthrie's situation?
Number one would be a wrongful conviction. And number two, the public internalizing that this is an accurate process where it can be accurate, it can be scientific, but there is a lot of human factors to get to that point of actually being accurate and for them to be able to determine they actually have crime time DNA.
And see, that's scary to me because number one, like you said, a wrongful conviction. Here we go again. Okay. We saw that they had detained Carlos Palazuela. I think you pronounce it
5 times.
He's not the right guy. So that could have been a wrongful conviction if they would have carried it on, so on and so forth. Thank God that the man got an attorney, so on and so forth, so they cannot go back to him and say, you were the guy, so on and so forth.
And if there wasn't a spotlight on this like it is, you know, how many times in America or wherever does that go down?
Yes.
Signed, sealed, delivered, done.
And here we are with another Delpi situation or another Brian Koberger situation once again, just so that they can close this out.
Yeah, I don't understand what's happening with these cases, Koberger and Nancy Guthrie, but it either looks like they want the new normal to be rushed to IGG because
That and plea
it's
deals.
maybe it's easier for them. They don't have to, you know, do all the hard detective work that they used to be. Or are these cases just different and something else is going on and not related, but I don't know, something weird. I don't know. But it's these two cases we can tell the Koberger case did not go through normal processes, and this one looks like it's headed right in the same.
I think we have a lot of high tech, but our rules and regulations have not caught up to it. We're behind with that part. And also,
Good point.
the court system is also behind tech, which is not surprising because it usually is, but we still don't have any policy, rules, and regulations for all these new tools that law enforcement is using.
Or regulators to regulate.
Exactly, yeah.
There's nobody that looks over top of it. It's just send it.
Well, we've deregulated things, so we're not in that direction right now.
It's
And
not in the budget.
I always say policies and laws come from lawsuits.
Yep.
Let people start suing, and then we'll get some policies.
I told something to SRB earlier today. I said, this is like a contract. Until something bites you in the butt,
Yep.
That line item, that extra fine print line is not there. Same, yeah.
And it
100.
shouldn't be that way either. This should be regulated from start to finish. You know, no BS in between, period, in my opinion.
Yeah.
should
That's
be.
good. That's good training for the up and coming that are watching all this stuff go down like this, you know, if they pay attention.
We just need a lot of caution with these new technologies, with these new processes, the science. And remember, there's human factors that go into this. And, you know, that not only does the science need to be right, but the pipeline also needs to be able to produce accurate results. Those are both within validation studies. And also, we need to ask questions about, can our system actually differentiate the intent for a DNA sample?
Yes. Very good points.
I think that's what scares me so much about hearing IgG is, to me, that means there's room for human error and manipulation, both of them. But on top of that, I think that so many of regular everyday Americans think they can trust IgG simply because they're not knowledgeable on it. And so they're thinking, oh, these are professionals. That's what they do for their job. I can just believe what they tell me is true. And that's not how it works for my brain.
Amen.
Right.
Well said. Great.
I trust nobody.
Yes.
You
Great.
can't even go walk Bronxy without thinking about it.
I can't. My Lord.
That's a scary thing because it's becoming. I think that's what, you know, in that aspect, that's what Othrum's pushing for.
Yes.
as we've seen them pop up again in this case. And I have a feeling, I've said this before, the more cases we see, the more times I think we're going to see Othram jumping on the phone saying, hey, we can help.
The
We can help.
insertion.
Please let us help. They insert themselves
Mhm.
every time. And it's going to be, it's scary. It's very scary. That was a great statement to make too with this, Logan, because that's 100% the direction that it is. And that's what scares the shit out of me, to be honest with you. So,
Well, and people do that with law enforcement too, just blindly believe them, or
Yeah.
mainstream media. If you have always grown up watching mainstream media and believe that's what's going on in the world, then you just kind of are blindly believing them. And some people can't
Yeah.
get out of that headspace.
100.
Excellent point. Yeah. Good.
Great
Great.
stuff.
Great.
Okay, so real quick here, Kim, Mike, Logan, did you guys have any last questions? Because Audrey's going to be leaving us here in just a few minutes. Any last questions about anything that we've talked about tonight that you want to throw in there?
I don't.
I have one with the Nancy Guthrie case.
Yes.
So the FBI gave an explanation that they will not accept the DNA from the Florida lab and said that it needs to go back to Arizona. So are you familiar with this part of it, Audrey?
I have seen a little bit of the independent DNA experts talk amongst themselves on LinkedIn. As far as scientists and drama go, that's where it's at.
That was an interesting comment when you made that the other day.
Yeah, the FBI said that we can't. They wanted to put the DNA into CODIS. The lab in Florida did the testing. The FBI said, we can't take it from you. You have to send it back to Arizona. Arizona has to do their own. They have to go through the process all over again. Then we'll take the DNA and then we'll put it into CODIS. Does that make sense to you?
I don't know if these are actually laws, policies, or regulations, but it looks like to me they're having a catty fight. That is just a very unprofessional, and I don't know why they're making that so public. They should be more professional about their pipeline. And this is another thing. If law enforcement can't decide what pipeline, what process they're going to use, what does that do to your sample? What does that do to your investigation? Like fundamentally on a systems level approach.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was my biggest worry with that. Like the more this is delayed and the more hands that it crosses through, you're degrading the sample and so on and so forth. And at this point, we still have a missing woman that's 84 years old.
20 days.
20 plus days, I think it is now, 21 or something. Either way, that's a long time. And, this is ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. And I looked this up. I don't see any laws anywhere that state that. So that's kind of my point with that whole thing. So that's a great question to ask too, Kim. Do you yourself have anything you want to say finally on either case before we have to let you go, Audrey, at all?
Just be cautious with trace DNA. It is invisible and it has my attention, and I share it with all of you, all the things that I've learned, and I hope you guys find it interesting too. And thank you so much for having me here, Dago, Mikey, Logan, and Kim. Thank you all. I had such a great time speaking with all of you.
Thank you, Miss. We appreciate you.
We absolutely
appreciate you.
Yes. And again, I want to stress it because I've seen so many other people make the same statements, how much we appreciate you being in our community and the resource that you offer to all of us as we all share your videos and we refer to your videos and all that stuff. When we have the questions we have, they've helped in so many different ways. We all greatly appreciate you, and I'm looking forward to having you. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to having you back again one of these days as things progress. So thank you again so very much, guys. Please make sure that you head over, if you have not yet done it, and subscribe to Glitch DNA Labs with Miss Audrey here. Please, you guys are missing out. There's so much great information that she puts out on a regular basis.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Bye, Audrey. It was so great to see you.
Yeah. Good to see you.
Awesome.
Take care. Guys. Great stuff.
Yeah, buddy.
What do you guys think?
She's amazing. Her level of intelligence is just so far beyond mine that I'm like, hold
Definitely.
on, slow
And
down.
the
I
way
just
she
love
puts
her.
it out to, like, I'm going to say myself, a dummy, she has no problem in
Agreed.
over explaining. And yeah, people usually with this type of don't do that. They're just like,
It's
meh.
the fact that she's so that when she doesn't know, she says, "Look, I'm not sure, but here's what I think." And
Yep.
I have place value in that as well because she is so knowledgeable but she's not afraid to say, "I'm not
Yeah.
sure, but this is what I would expect." And I
That's
like
what
that.
that's what I respect of her the most because
Yes.
you know she wants to be able to give an answer to something because in some senses I've seen her even like she said that was a great question. I think she wants to know herself, so on and so forth. Yeah,
Zero
definitely.
arrogance.
Yeah.
By
Can I
no means.
address something in the chat?
Absolutely
Please,
not.
please
Yeah.
do, please do.
So we know that Audrey states very clearly that she's not a DNA expert.
Right.
That's not what she is. That's not what she claims to be. She is a processes and procedure analyzer.
Right.
And so she can read and learn about any topic and look, that's what she does for her job, like
Yes.
checking out and analyzing the steps to do something. Is there a proper procedure? And so that is, she can take the DNA reports and
Yeah.
information and go through and check the steps and procedures. So
Yep.
yeah, I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah.
And
No,
she's amazing at it.
yeah,
Amazing.
we were just basically trying to get her input and her thoughts on what she thinks about these situations. So,
Yeah.
it's definitely a good source for
Big
sure.
time.
But
So
most of us don't even know a quarter of what she knows. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely.
one thing I wish I would have said to her, Audrey, if you're listening, she also makes music videos about the different topics. So as intelligent as she is, she's also entertaining.
Yeah. Those
Yeah.
videos have got a lot going on in them too. Like, yeah, she's got some talent.
You guys got to go
She's
check her out for
creative.
sure.
Big
Most
time.
definitely. Most definitely. So I haven't even had a chance to look at anything today, by the way, because of what was going on in my house. Is there anything new that did come out on the Guthrie case at all? Anybody?
I don't
They
think so.
made the road a one-way street.
Are you shitting me? What do you mean?
How do you do that?
It was already one way.
Was it
No,
a
the
dead
thing
end?
is, like, literally the neighbors were complaining, and so they
yeah.
officially made it a one-way road today. The other thing, there's a search tomorrow. There is a search party. Volunteers can show up at they're meeting at the Hobby Lobby. At
Where
like
the
in
hell are
the
they searching?
morning, and they're going out.
What are they going to search for?
Oh my
I
God.
the guy that I heard, I got this all from JLR, listening to JLR. The guy that he was speaking to said like the gloves, I guess, were focused on one side of the road. So they were going to go check out the other side of the road because I guess that part hasn't been searched. I mean, he's bringing manhole cover openers. Like, I don't know where all they're going, but
16 more gloves coming up.
Wow. Wow. And as always with this entire, they keep putting everything out to the media. From the beginning, they open
Like
crime
Audrey was
scene.
saying.
This is ridiculous, guys. 20 days in, okay?
Yeah.
There should be so much more known than what there is. I mean, and I feel like they do know some things that they're not telling us, but still, like,
And
this
the
woman
guys-
should have been found by now.
The guy's got to pick and choose who he wants to interview for the news. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely. Anything new in your world, Logan?
No, I saw some interesting things. Just looking into some things that today, Jimmy Mackey from the Idaho 4 case, Molly's
Molly's boyfriend.
Oh,
responding
yeah.
to people in the comments, and he's pissed.
What do you mean, Vern?
What is he pissed off about?
Tell us. Come on now.
So apparently a while ago, Christie's Chaos put out a video saying
Yeah.
that Jimmy Mackey and Justin Stringer are the same people. And there was a person in the comments that said, no, they're not. And he responded to that and said, thank you for basically, not being an idiot. I'm not the same person as Justin Stringer, but since you have brains, you might want to run far away or something like that. I wish you the best. Almost like a threat. It was strange.
Oh.
Social media, baby.
Yeah, it was strange. So I was digging into some Justin Stringer, James Mackey, Molly McMichael stuff today.
Birdie
you
put out
think-
something interesting today on that same. I don't know if you watched it, Logan.
I'm confused because I thought we all knew that Isaac was Molly's son.
I
didn't know
I
that.
was
Or is it
clueless
just
on
the
that.
fact that
Wait,
he
what's
worked
the
at
name?
Domino's.
Isaac?
We're not all as brainy as you.
Isaac is Molly's son.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
never heard that
Oh,
before.
I thought
And who's
We
Isaac?
would talk about that in my chat a few times.
It's the
back
first time
a
I've heard the
month
name
ago.
Isaac.
Who's
And he was a-
Isaac?
He was a Domino's pizza delivery guy.
So, yeah, right.
Yes, Joey.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. I didn't know he worked for Domino's, but I knew Isaac was Molly's son for like a long time.
That's
So-
what Birdie said today.
So if we go back to that video where we see a
Yep.
Domino's pizza car turn the corner and drive up the hey y'all.
Oh my God, that would match her son perfect, huh? Like mother, like son, huh?
But
Hey-o.
we would have to know like what Isaac drove at that time
Yeah.
and things like that to specifically connect him, which is still
You have to
wild.
go. He spent some time on what he put together. You guys have to go watch it. Yeah, I think he's going to answer your questions, Logan, if you haven't seen it.
Oh, okay. I should.
And
It
Birdie
was his
did
live
that?
today. Yeah, his live today.
Oh wow, that's like
Okay.
mind blowing in some way. Like, how old is this kid?
Oh, he's in that.
Young 20s,
He's in that era.
mid 20s.
Y'all. Somebody else
Yeah.
to look into now. I wonder if he's got any kind of a background or criminal record or anything at his age. Was he interviewed by MSM? I don't remember that.
Joey, we don't know.
I've never heard
Oh,
that
I
name
don't know.
before.
I never did
No.
till tonight.
Me neither.
Yeah, interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it
Don't
was.
take your eye off the case. New
I
names
don't-
will pop up.
No,
Yeah.
this guy's parents were actually on the news that you're talking about, Patty. The one that was beaten up by the whatever fraternity it was. That was a whole different situation. But still, huh? Wow, my head's swimming right now. Okay,
Just wait.
wow.
Better
So
put your floaties on, bud.
yeah, I guess. So we got some great shows coming down, and I promise you guys the intro and all that stuff will be so much more professional. It's coming. We just haven't had time. We obviously you want to throw out some of the guests that we're going to be having coming down the line, Mikey, just to give everybody a little.
So as of now, hang on, let me get this calendar.
Yes.
So we got somebody else for March that's going to commit, but so our next one that's on the calendar that I have is going to be the 28th, which is going to be Birdie.
Awesome.
I can't say yet, but I think
We have
I have
some that are in the works, right?
Yeah, I think I have a real impressive one that's going to fill the 14th. I think that's going to shock the net, let's say.
That should be fun.
So,
We're working on a few, definitely.
yeah.
Wait, is Isaac Molly's brother?
Yeah. No,
Not
my
fun.
bad. Why did I disagree?
Oh, see, I've never heard it. That's why I was shocked. Like, who's
No,
Isaac?
I knew that she had a relative. I thought it was her son, but now I'm thinking maybe it was her younger brother. I'm not sure. I know that she's related to, like, closely to an Isaac. I knew that because it was in my chat a long time ago.
Well, okay.
Wait, that's not her brother that was in the car with her. That's special needs, is it?
I don't think he'd be delivering pizza.
Come on.
If you watch her interviews, when she gets pulled over, she'll make a reference to having to take care of, I believe it's a brother, isn't it?
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think it's special needs. So, but I don't know
Yeah.
the name. I don't know his name.
I wonder if they take care of each other because she seems special needs. My bad.
Yeah,
I love your
she's just
humor.
a
It's so
liar.
funny.
She's just a liar. SRB said that's her brother. Okay. Listen, either way, I don't care if this is her son, her brother, her neighbor, her uncle. we saw a car turn onto the road with a Domino's pizza sign at the wrong time. I'll put it in a timeline that shouldn't have been there.
What
And
Do you
time
remember
was
what
it?
time was that? Was that around
1.
midnight to 1? Yep.
yeah,
You got to go watch it,
it
man.
makes me go again.
Well, and that's what Birdie was saying, and he did a really good episode on it.
Yeah.
He was saying that, what are the odds that Molly's related to somebody that works at Domino's, and there was a Domino's person. So did Ethan and Xana actually order Domino's that night? So then why would they order DoorDash, which goes along with Pop's theory of maybe Dylan ordered the DoorDash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil it. Just do it.
Just watch it. Okay.
The answers to your questions, I think you'll be impressed to, and you can expand on it.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yes.
How long ago did he put it out, Mike?
Today at like 11 to 1.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I haven't been
So
on.
I'm gonna I'll drop the link in here for that specific.
My bulletproof vest.
Oh my gracious. Does Bronxy have his on too?
Tanya says I like Logan's bulletproof vest. It's actually an entire dress, but it's
that's
weird
cute.
looking.
So go check out Birdie's video from today, you guys, at some point.
Yeah.
There's a
check it
link
out.
for the specific video. I'm gonna have to go watch it myself. Because it sounds quite interesting. Because that it kind of blew my mind a little bit.
It's not real left field.
Right. And I'm kind of excited to have him join us up here as well. It's gonna be a great show.
He's
Very
brilliant.
cool.
And tonight, guys, if you guys have nothing else to do, you still have the Devil's Advocates Crimes After Dark show coming up in about an hour Eastern time. Miss Logan and I will be there along with 1-1 Robin Lee. Is JJ going to be there tonight? I think maybe not. I'm not sure.
No, I think he's got a gig, huh?
What is
Who
today?
knows?
Saturday.
A
gig?
Yeah.
Is he in a band?
He's a musician.
He is in a band, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that'll be an interesting conversation. It always is.
I think DA has some interesting things tonight for the episode.
Yes.
Don't spoil it, dang it.
Most definitely. It's one of those wow moments.
Definitely.
Gotta love it. So anything before we get out of here, Miss Kim, any thoughts, any feelings, any opinions?
This was wonderful. I took so many notes, and I always like talking points and like the correct phrases to use. Yeah, so I got a lot out of it myself. So thank you, Mike.
That's
thanks for setting that up, and
Oh, no problem.
thanks, Audrey, for coming on. Yeah,
Great job, buddy.
I love this.
Part of the deal.
Miss Logan, any last thoughts, feelings, opinions?
No, I really was looking forward to talking with Glitch DNA Labs today, Audrey. So I'm really excited that we got to do this, and it was so informative. And I'm grateful for everybody who tuned in. And that's it. That's all I wanted to say. I appreciate everybody coming here.
As we all do. Thank you, Logan. Mikey, the last 24.
Nothing other than just stay tuned. It's just heating up.
Yes, and it will get better as we go. Like I said, we're working on the intro and all the other stuff. So just bear with the unprofessional side to it. We still have the caution tape up, folks. We're still working on everything, but it will be what it will be very soon. And on that note, you guys, thank you so very much for joining us here on episode 2 of the Verdict Room Unfiltered with these amazing other creators sitting up here with me. I'm so honored to have this ability to do this with you guys. Yes, these amazing ladies and Mr. Mikey himself. This, by the way, my producer who does all the producing stuff. He's just doing amazing things in here. So I'm grateful to you, sir, for all of it.
Oh, you're welcome. Anytime.
And guys, make sure that you guys have this in your notifier so you know when we're going to do this. That way you don't miss anything we do. Not to mention, of course, the TruCrime Cafe that I try to do on a regular basis as well. Please tune into those shows. Please tune in to Typically Unique's daily shows. I believe she goes live every day. Is it 11:30 a.m. Eastern?
Crime o'clock. Don't forget it.
Crime o'clock.
Crime o'clock.
And of course, Bronx Tales. Miss Logan and Bronxy the dog do their thing daily as well, pretty much. Not specific times, but you don't want to miss it because you'll miss out for sure.
It's like a full-time and a part-time job.
Yes, she's a busy lady. Mr. Mikey here is going to be doing more with his channel, The Last 24 here, coming up soon too. So make sure you're subscribed to everybody if you can, please and thank you. And I think that's going to do it. You
Sounds
guys,
like a deal.
absolutely great show. Great show. Thank you again, Audrey. If you can hear us, thank you so much for joining us. Thank
Yes,
you all
ma'am.
for joining us. Thank you to the moderators and all these amazing channels.
Yes.
And you guys have an amazing night, and we'll see you very soon.
Have a
See
great night,
y'all.
everybody. Thanks for joining.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Bye.
Where we're seeking truth. Yeah, we're seeking truth. Hey. Last 24, they rewind it. True crime heads go find it. Breaking every angle, every track. Bronx telling tales, keeps us on track. Typically unique, never act. Being real, being sharp, being exact. Exposing every secret in the dark. Every little timeline, every mark. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth. Looking for answers, bringing the facts to you. They break it all down. That day goes cafe seats, working together, throwing revelations at your feet. Oh.
Crime scene chart, they erase that. Put the story back, then replace facts. Looking for the motive in the cracks. Red yarn on the board, then it snaps. Voices in my ear through the week till they hit play. Then we speak. Files on the table, case on the line. They don't just tell it, they define.
Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth. Looking for answers, bringing the facts to you. They break it all down. That day goes cafe seats, working together, throwing revelations at your feet. From the Bronx to the world, let it ring. Every missing little detail that they bring. Dropping that gavel when they're done with the beat. Thanks for tapping in. See you next week. Welcome to the verdict room, where we're seeking the truth, looking for answers.